Once in a small coastal town in the Philippines, where the sound of waves and the laughter of children mixed in the air, lived a young man named Arvin. He wasn't someone most people noticed. He worked at a small eatery, serving meals and cleaning tables, always smiling, always polite, but no one really knew the dreams he carried inside. Arvin's life was simple, yet every night, when the world went quiet, his heart would whisper the same wish, that one day, someone, somewhere, would hear him sing. Welcome back to our channel, where real stories inspire the world and prove that dreams can come from the unlikeliest of places. Today, we're about to witness something that left millions speechless, a moment when a Filipino man, with nothing but a heart full of courage, walked onto one of the biggest stages in the world, opened his mouth, and made Simon Cowell absolutely stunned. Arvin's story began long before that moment. He grew up in a crowded neighborhood in Cebu, where houses were built so close you could hear your neighbor's radio playing all day. His father was a tricycle driver, and his mother sold vegetables at the wet market. They barely earned enough to survive, but what made their small home special wasn't what they had, it was what they shared. Every Sunday, Arvin's father would turn on an old radio and play the classics, songs from the Beatles, Frank Sinatra, and, most of all, Elvis Presley. Elvis was his father's idol. He used to say, "Son, this man sang like the world was his stage." Even when you have nothing, if you sing with your heart, people will listen. Those words stuck with Arvin. He would watch videos of Elvis on a neighbor's phone, studying his moves, the way he held the mic, the deep emotion in his voice. He tried to copy everything, the charm, the gestures, the power. But more than that, Arvin learned to sing with feeling. When his father passed away suddenly from illness, Arvin was only 17. It broke him. The only thing that helped him survive the pain was singing. He would go to the beach at night, when no one was around, and sing Elvis songs to the sea. The waves became his audience, the stars his spotlight. And for those few minutes, he wasn't a poor boy from Cebu. He was Elvis. But dreams don't always come easy. Arvin worked long hours, saved every peso, and kept watching clips of talent shows online, America's Got Talent, The X Factor, Britain's Got Talent. He would stare at the screen and whisper to himself, "One day, that'll be me." Years passed, he got older, life got harder, and his dreams started to fade under the weight of reality. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. One day, a foreign tourist visited the eatery where Arvin worked. The man was from London, traveling the Philippines to document street musicians. He overheard Arvin humming, "Can't Help Falling in Love," while wiping tables. "Hey, mate," the man said with a grin. "You've got quite a voice." Arvin smiled shyly. "Just trying to sound like Elvis, sir." The tourist laughed. "Sound like him? You sound like you are him." He pulled out his phone and said, "Sing something for me." Arvin hesitated but then took a deep breath and sang, "Love Me Tender." His voice was deep, soulful, and powerful. The tourist was stunned. "That was incredible. You should be on stage somewhere." A few weeks later, that same tourist posted Arvin's video online with the caption, "The Filipino Elvis you've never heard of." It went viral overnight. Millions watched it. People commented things like, "This guy sounds more Elvis than Elvis himself." And, "Simon Cowell needs to see this." And that's exactly what happened. A few months later, a message popped up in Arvin's inbox. It was from a talent scout for America's Got Talent. They had seen the video and wanted him to audition. Arvin froze. His hands shook as he read the message over and over. "Is this real?" he whispered. For a moment, he thought it was a prank. But it wasn't. He couldn't afford the plane ticket, and even after the show offered partial sponsorship, he had to sell his old guitar, borrow money from friends, and take extra shifts to make it happen. But he did it. He promised his mother before leaving, "I'll make you proud, Ma. And I'll sing for Papa." Fast forward to Los Angeles. The big stage, the blinding lights, the audience buzzing with excitement. Arvin stood backstage in his old black jacket, the same one he wore to church back home. His hands trembled as he held the mic. Around him were singers with expensive clothes, makeup artists fixing every detail. He looked down at his worn-out shoes and whispered to himself, "You belong here. You've earned this." Finally, it was his turn. The stage door opened, and Arvin stepped out. The judges looked at him curiously. Simon Cowell leaned forward, sizing him up. "Hello there. What's your name?" Arvin smiled nervously. "My name is Arvin, sir. I'm from the Philippines." The crowd cheered. "What are you going to sing for us today?" asked Simon. Arvin looked up, his voice shaking just a little. I'll be singing an Elvis song, sir. Simon raised an eyebrow. Oh, Elvis, that's quite a challenge. Good luck. The audience chuckled softly. Many had seen Elvis impersonators before. Most failed to capture the magic. But when the music started, and Arvin opened his mouth, silence fell across the room. The first notes of "Suspicious Minds" echoed through the theater, and the crowd froze. Arvin's voice was powerful, rich, and carried that same smooth tone Elvis had. His movements were effortless, not forced, not exaggerated. It was as if Elvis had come back to life on that stage. Simon's eyes widened. He leaned back, his lips parting slightly. "Oh my God," he whispered under his breath. The other judges exchanged amazed looks. The audience began to clap in rhythm, then stood, cheering as Arvin hit every note perfectly. The energy built like a wave, and when he reached the final chorus, people were shouting, whistling, crying. It wasn't just an impression, it was pure, soulful emotion. When the music ended, there was a pause. Then, an explosion of applause. Everyone was on their feet. Arvin, overwhelmed, covered his face with his hands as tears filled his eyes. Simon was the first to speak. "Arvin," he said slowly, "I've heard hundreds of Elvis covers, but what you just did was something else. You didn't imitate him, you became him. That was unbelievable." Howie Mandel leaned forward. "I think Elvis is smiling somewhere right now." Heidi Klum said, "You have a gift. You made us feel every word." And then, Sofia Vergara added, "You brought so much heart. I felt your soul through that performance." The audience chanted his name. "Arvin, Arvin, Arvin." Simon turned to the crowd, then back at Arvin. "You know what," he said, "this is one of those moments I'll never forget." He reached forward, and slammed the golden buzzer. Golden confetti rained down as Arvin fell to his knees, crying. He couldn't believe it. His dream, the dream of that poor boy from Cebu, had come true. The crowd screamed, the judges stood clapping, and Simon walked up to the stage. He put his hand on Arvin's shoulder and said softly, "You've just made history, my friend." Backstage, Arvin hugged everyone, the producers, the camera crew, even strangers. He called his mother through video chat. She was crying. "Anik, your papa would be so proud," she said. "You did it." The video of his audition spread like wildfire. Within hours, it was trending across platforms. Filipino. Elvis wins golden buzzer. People all around the world were talking about him. News outlets covered his story. Fans wrote from every corner of the globe. Even famous musicians reacted to his performance online. But for Arvin, the fame wasn't what mattered. He remembered the nights he sang to the ocean, the promises he made to his father. Every step he took now was a tribute. As the competition continued, Arvin returned to the stage again, this time with more confidence. For the semifinals, he chose "Can't Help Falling in Love." The lights dimmed, and the stage was filled with soft blue hues. He stood alone, holding the mic gently. When he began to sing, the room went silent once more. It was pure magic. His voice, tender and full of emotion, carried through the air. Some people in the crowd held their breath. Others wiped tears from their eyes. By the time he reached the last line, "Take my hand, take my whole life too," even Simon had to look away for a moment, his eyes glassy. The performance earned him a standing ovation again. Simon said, "You have something that money can't buy. You have heart. You remind the world what music is supposed to feel like." In the finals, Arvin went all out with "If I Can Dream." The powerful song, combined with his emotional story, turned the entire arena into a sea of lights and cheers. Every word he sang came straight from his soul. The crowd erupted as he finished, chanting his name once more. Even though he didn't win the season, he won something greater, the world's heart. After the show, Arvin received offers to perform in Las Vegas and in Elvis tribute concerts around the globe. But instead of chasing fame, he decided to return home first. He wanted to visit his father's grave and say thank you. One sunny afternoon, Arvin stood by the small tombstone, holding a single flower. "Papa," he whispered, "you told me to sing with my heart. I did, and they heard me." He smiled through tears. "This was for you." He knelt down, placed the flower gently, and began to hum, "Love Me Tender." The same song he sang for his father as a boy. The wind blew softly, as if the world was listening. Months later, Arvin built a small music school in Cebu. He named it Dream Notes Academy. His goal was simple: To give poor kids a chance to discover their own voices, just like he once dreamed. Talent belongs to everyone, he would tell his students. Don't ever think you're too small for your dreams. His videos continued to inspire people. Fans across the globe sent letters saying his story gave them hope. Some said they started singing again after watching him. Others said his humility reminded them what true success looks like. Simon Cowell even invited Arvin to perform again in a special guest segment. When he appeared on stage, the crowd cheered louder than ever. Simon introduced him with pride, saying, "Here's a man who reminded us why we love this show, a man whose heart is as powerful as his voice." The one and only, Arvin from the Philippines. Arvin performed, "Burning Love," with a live band that night, his energy lighting up the entire arena. Even Simon was clapping along, smiling from ear to ear. After the performance, Simon approached him again. "Arvin," he said, "you didn't just bring Elvis back, you brought hope. You're proof that music has no borders." The audience roared, cameras flashed, and in that moment, the boy who once sang to the sea was now singing to the world. When the lights dimmed and the show ended, Arvin took a quiet walk backstage. He looked up at the ceiling, eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you," he whispered. Not to the crowd, not to the fame, but to the journey itself. Because in his heart, he knew that the real dream wasn't about winning. It was about being heard, about proving that even a poor boy from the Philippines could stand on the biggest stage in the world, and move hearts across continents. Years later, when people talk about iconic moments in talent show history, they still mention him, the Filipino Elvis. But to Arvin, he's just a son who kept a promise. And maybe, somewhere beyond the stars, his father is still listening, proud, smiling, and tapping his foot to the rhythm of his son's song. Because when Arvin started singing Elvis, even Simon couldn't believe it, but the world did.